What's up, Boston?
Alongside Rizzo, we have Letty from the Marathon Running Podcast. Letty has run 60-plus marathons around the world. Boston runners, loves all things running culture. Give it up for Letty. And most certainly, last but not least, this is who everybody is here waiting for. She is the American record holder in the 10-mile. She once held the American marathon record and half marathon record at the same time. Marathon champion, marathon pro, number one in our hearts, Keira and Amato. So pumped to have all these folks here. Just one last thing for me before we get started. So Keira is racing on Monday and is kind enough with her busy schedule to give up her time here. Given the number of people we have in the audience, we are going to focus our time on the Q&A, on hearing from Keira. She does have to run right around 5 o'clock when we leave, so we will take one big giant group selfie that we'll make sure everybody has access to. So just want to set that up in the beginning, but enough for me. Turn it over to these guys.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Amazing. I was just telling you that you look 5'11" in the pictures.
Well, it was funny because on the way over here, I was telling my agent that the number one thing that people say to me when they meet me is, "Oh, you look taller on TV. You're a lot shorter." But I think a lot of the women I race are like 5 foot nothing, so it makes me look a lot taller. But thank you. I take that as a compliment.
Yes. Right. How are you feeling, Boston? You're back. Some insights?
I'm feeling really good. This has been a really special marathon for me. I haven't been able to do it for the last few years because I've been just participated in the World Championships or the Olympic trials. But the Boston Marathon is what got me into marathoning. It was seeing the 2013, like everything that tragically happened with the bombings, that made me want to rise up and find the courage to start training for a marathon. And so I found one in Missoula, Montana about, 3 or 4 months after that. And I just needed to run a 3:35, which then I thought, I'm a runner. I could probably run 3:25. So I went out on a pace. I bombed so hard, ran 3:49, did not qualify. And that really stung. And I'm like, I'm not a marathoner, like gonna retire the marathon shoes. But then a few years later, I got the courage to go for it again on my second attempt to try to beat Q. I did beat Q. But I think I'm one of the only pro marathoners in the field that did not hit the qualifying time the first time I ran a marathon. And I feel really proud about that. I feel really proud. It feels very full circle to be back here and to be running again. I ran in 2018 as part of the masses. And now this year I'm running in the pro field, which feels just very wild. So, but it's fun to see the kind of the full circle of it all.
Amazing.
So there's hope for all of us, right? All right, so with that, let's talk about that, your story of how you got back into running and then how you became so fast. I want to know what made that gap so big, right? If you couldn't run a 3:35, how did you get to a 2:25?
Yeah.
2:19. 2:19, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That was bad.
I started, eventually I gave my husband at the time a marathon entry for Christmas as a joke, thinking that that's like a very kind gift because marathon entries are pricey, but then also it's kind of like a backhanded gift because now I needed to train for a marathon. And then I felt so guilty that I was like, okay, I'll train with you too. But I think the experience of being so humbled by the marathon the first time made me realize how hard I actually needed to train. So I got serious about it. I actually built up the long run, practiced time on feet, I practiced fueling, and I wasn't going to let it humble me again. But I think coming back into it, I'm really proud of myself that I didn't compare myself to the runner that I was in my 20s. I was comparing myself to the Keira of yesterday. And I was just trying to be a little bit better, and sometimes even that's a rest day to get better. But every time I'd hit a little goal, like to run a marathon without walking, which I think I've walked in more marathons than I've run completely, just put that out there. But the first goal is to run a marathon without walking, and then it was to try to beat Q, and then it was to run. And every time I hit that goal, I thought, well, what else can I do? So I found myself inching forward and keep, like, once I'd hit a goal, I'd reset and then aim for the next thing. And then, yeah, and then one day my goal was to break the American record in the marathon. And it's really, like, really wild to think that it started as just don't walk, or run a whole marathon, not walk, and then got there. But yeah, piece by piece.
I mean, that's amazing, but let's talk about how much do you think is talent versus training, right? Because if I train as hard as you do, I don't think I'll get down to that pace.
I definitely think I do have a talent. Back in elementary school, where they do the physical education test, like, I counted down the days to the mile, like it was like Christmas. Like, all my friends were pretending they had stomach aches so their mom could let them stay home, and I was like lining up trying to set the school record. But I think also I'm just like a really naturally competitive person. But I ran in high school, I was a state champion, I ran in college, I was an All-American, so I definitely have a talent, but I think in my 20s, I couldn't take that talent and connect it with, like, a perspective, like a winning perspective. And I think for me, quitting for a decade and becoming a mother and having a job, and a normal job, I think then that allowed me to connect the pieces, to not be afraid to fail, to be able to truly go for it and not worry about the outcome, and just the discipline of patience, which I think all marathoners, we need to have a little bit of patience, but it's easier said than done.
Yes.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. I feel like you're an elite athlete that the everyday runner can relate to, because we all have families, we all have jobs. You're the fastest real estate agent in the East, now the Midwest, I guess. But going away, stepping away from the sport, like a lot of us may have done. We started to run to get back in shape. I think that's what you did as well. I mean, at that point, did you feel like you had nothing absolutely to lose, and so that helped, you go and break the American record?
Yeah, and it's exactly that. This whole time I've had nothing to lose, and I feel like I've had this beautiful second chance. And so for a decade of sitting on the sidelines, I had the woulda, coulda, shouldas. Like, I should have done this, could have done this, what if I would have done this? And I was able to live it in this second life. But then also I didn't have the pressure of coming out of college and people expecting anything. No one has ever thought I was capable of all this, including myself. And so I think it's just like a pleasant surprise. But someone asked me today, like, do you feel pressure? And no, like, I haven't felt pressure, because I feel like, no one expected me to make it this far, like, including myself. Like, in 2018, after I ran the Boston Marathon, if you'd have sat me down and said, write all of, like, your wildest dreams in this sport. Like, dream as high as you can dream. I've surpassed anything I could have imagined.
Amazing.
So I think that has allowed me just to, run for the joy of it, to have a lot of fun. And I think just being older too, I realized that, the time doesn't make me, but the experiences and the community and everything.
Sure.
Everything like that.
So do you recommend, I think I read that you're a DJ as well, so maybe start a career as a DJ and a real estate agent?
Yeah, I train now with Connor Mance and Clayton Young, and we're at practice some days, and I'll bring up a story like, well, one time when I was an IT developer, and like Clayton cannot wrap his head around all the lights I put. He's like, I cannot keep up with this. And I'm like, well, I'm writing a book, so you'll get to read all about it pretty soon in September. But yeah, I think just this perspectives from all of it. And I think I'm a person that says yes to opportunity, which I kind of have said yes to this whole running thing too. But my mom is the realtor, and she was like, you should come work for me. And I'm like, absolutely. My dad worked in development. You should come do them. Yeah, I'll do it. So I don't know. I kind of just say yes to things, and now I'm sitting here with all of you guys.
Yes, and we're glad that you're here. So let's talk about that book, right? Can you pitch it a little bit, what we're going to find in there?
So the book is called Don't Call It a Comeback. And to me, that's really funny, because I've never once called it a comeback. This was not a comeback story for me. This was me in pursuit, trying to find something that made me really happy. But I think outside of people saying, wow, you're taller on TV, another thing is like, what changed? Like, how did you go from a college runner who was maybe making it to nationals to being one of the top Americans ever? And so this book is kind of what changed, the perspective shift that I learned to reach these heights, how I gave myself grace and permission to go for it. And I think also as, I got into the sport, like I was talking to my agent today too, that I didn't sign a pro contract until I was 36. And that's usually the age where everyone's already retired and on to what's next. I totally lost my train of thought.
The book.
The book.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. But I think, and we're all too busy and we have so much going on, and life distracts us from having our own personal goals too. And so I hope my book is permission for everyone to take something off the shelf or to figure out how to fit it in your life, or to not feel the mom guilt or the parent guilt or whatever, to be able to pursue something that really means a lot to you. So it's kind of my journey. So it picks up from the first day that I went for the first run after having my daughter. I tried to run 3 minutes, thinking if I could just run 3 minutes and get out the door, then it might turn into a 10-minute run. But I went out to the door to run 3 minutes, and I made it 90 seconds before stopping and crying and walking home in tears. But it kind of broke me that day, but I didn't totally break. And 2 days later, I tried again. I made it 3 minutes, and then 2 days later, I tried 5 minutes, and I kept building up. But I think it shows that journey from that first attempted 3-mile run all the way through the Olympic trials in 2024. So yeah, the good, bad, and the ugly's in there. And so the DJ stories are in there, and a little bit of my developing story. So you see all the lives that I've lived.
Sure.
I love it. And I love that you brought up mom guilt, right? Because a lot of us feel it. I feel it right now because I left my family behind. And I also, when it comes to being a mom, it feels like when we have kids, after we start running again, all of a sudden we can handle anything.
Yes.
Talk about that maybe.
Yeah, well, when I first got back into it, people would say, isn't marathoning hard? I'm like, do you know what's really hard? You have 2 kids at home, and your husband's away, and they're waking up at 1 and 3 and at 5, and you're changing diapers and feeding or doing whatever. That was really difficult for me. So I think putting things in perspective. And then I think also in a marathon, it's like chosen pain. So in a way, it feels really lucky that that is what I'm experiencing and that is what I'm going through in that moment. And a lot of people would choose that kind of pain if they could. But I think also I felt very guilty coming back and doing something that was just for me. And I started rebranding, it felt selfish. But then I started saying, if this is making me a better person, I could be a better mother. And if I'm a better mother, I feel like I could be a better runner too. But if I'm doing things that are authentic to me and make me happy, that's, putting myself, not necessarily first all the time, but doing something for myself. And that shouldn't be considered selfish in the way that we all kind of look at it now. So I talk a lot about that in the book and just, funny things.
I love that, and at least you have a win to come home with. All of us just go run.
Yeah. Well, then you come home and the kids, they really don't care how you do. So I think that also, detach the outcome for me. So they come home and I'd be like, I'm back. They're like, what's for dinner? They don't even care that I just ran a race. So I think that helped to separate Keira from the runner for Keira, the whole version of me.
And now your family, I'm assuming, has turned into a huge support group, right?
Yeah, the kids are really invested now.
Yeah.
They like Keira. I just talked to them and they're like, go win on Monday.
Are they here?
They're not. They're back. They're on spring break right now.
Okay.
So I actually went and visited my mom back in Virginia for spring break. But yeah, so they feel a little more connected now. But my daughter is doing Girls on the Run. And she really likes everything but the running part of it. So she's with her friends, and she likes all the lessons, and she likes the games with the flat out running. She's like, we could do without that. And I would just be like, that's girls on the. You gotta add the run, right? So yeah.
That's very awesome.
Yeah, I kind of feel like at this moment, your walk-up song should be LL Cool J, Don't Call to Come Back, from here on until September 9th, correct?
I could do that, yeah.
Did you always want to write a book? And then also, my second question is, September 9th, the book is scheduled to come out. I would imagine you're going to be on a book tour. Is fall marathon in sights for you as well?
Yeah, I told my book publisher I'm not going to do anything a month before a marathon because I want to make sure I'm still really focused and really centered around it. But yeah, I love that song, so I don't mind that.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, that would be really, really cool. But yeah, I'm sure there's going to be a book tour. I don't know what that looks like yet. And yeah, it's going to be real interesting to go through this process. It feels very like everything's in there. Like the good, the bad, and the ugly of Keira is in there. And I'm excited to share that because I really think it can help other people in their own journey, but also it's terrifying. Like today, there was like an early reader, Andy Burfoot, who's won the Boston Marathon before. He read it early, and he came up to me today, and he's like, Now I know things about you that you probably didn't want me to know. Like, for instance, I know you always forget to pack underwear when you travel.
Yes.
Do you pack underwear? And I'm like, this is not a conversation I ever had. But yeah, it's all in there. So
Sure.
So you packed your underwear, but let's talk about some other rituals that you have before running. What do you do? Is there anything that you do, I don't know, touch the wall 3 times or touch the wall before you get into an airplane? Like, what do you do before you go to a run?
I like being in a group or room that does like a slow clap for me.
Go, go.
Got that covered.
It's funny because I used to have like a race T-shirt that I wear before every night, or before every race, and it was my good luck T-shirt. And when I was packing for the Houston Marathon in 2022, I washed that, I folded it was ready to go in my suitcase, and I thought, I don't need this. I've trained so hard. This shirt isn't going to make or break my race. And I was like, I'm not going to pack this purposely because I feel so confident in my shape. And breaking out of that superstition was really freeing for me to think that, no, this is about me and my fitness and not any, weird superstition that I've put on it. But for me, I like routines with races. So I wake up and I have the same thing that I've had every other day before a long run in a race. I do the same warm-up that I've done every other time before a race. So I really try to stick with things that I know work for me, and I practice it on, just my long runs and my workouts. But yeah, don't tap the wall 3 times. Maybe I should though. But I like the slow clap. I think we're on the I'll see if they can do that for me on the starting line. I really appreciate that.
So you said you have the same thing, and I know that obviously UCAN is your sponsor. So maybe you can talk a little bit about how you incorporate that into your racing, and then also for us that run twice as long as you do, how will that translate into our feeling?
Yeah, so my race starts when my alarm goes off in the morning. And I don't think any of my other competitors are treating it the same way. But for me, when I get up, I'm like, game on. How many calories and how much fuel can I get in before I get to the starting line? So no one else thinks they're racing at that point, but I get up and I'm ready to go. So immediately I get my same thing. I start with a coffee, I start with my oatmeal, and I put chia seeds, blueberries, and then I have the UCAN energy drink, and I flip-flop on flavors just to keep that at least spicy and fun because it's so routine with everything else. And then I also take another one, so I drink a whole one while I'm eating breakfast, and then I have another one that I'll carry with me and sip on the bus ride or to the starting line. My drive down, I live in Park City now, my drive down to Provo, where I work out, is about 45 minutes, which is pretty similar to a ride to Boston. So I try to get a whole another one in before the race. So I have a lot of fluids, a lot of calories, and it's really important too to make sure that you have some sort of electrolyte, whether it's UCAN Energy or even the hydrate, because if you're just drinking water, you could actually dehydrate. And I learned that lesson the hard way, back before I even ran Boston the first time. But you need to make sure that you're actually absorbing, and it's with the electrolytes that it helps your body really be able to transfer it. And then I'll take a gel right before I start, the energy gel, and I like to put a bunch of different flavors in my pocket and pull one out randomly, so it's a little surprise for me. So when you're running a marathon, you got to keep it fun. So I pack a whole different, all the different flavors in, and then I'll have a gel every 10K of the race, and then I alternate with the energy powder that has a lot of electrolytes. So then I'll take those in between. And then afterwards, you can celebrate with a beer and everything, that's awesome, but within 30 minutes of any workout or long run or race, I try to get protein in. And UCAN also has a protein powder that I'll take. I like the vanilla one more. But I'll either put in a smoothie or just drink it with water, and getting that in because your body's in hyper recovery mode in that point, so you really want to make sure that you're recovering. Your body will thank you that night and the next morning if you're making sure that you're on the recovery train too.
Okay, so would you say that you would stick with it every 10K no matter how fast you run, or is it more a time-based thing?
That's a really good question. Yeah, for me, I think a 10K is just under 40 minutes. So I would probably go time-based rather than, so for me, that's what works for me mileage-wise. And roughly there's some water stops around that, although UCAN is okay without water, the gel. But I would say probably every 35 to 40-ish minutes. But definitely practice that in your training and see what works for you.
Okay, and the audience has been given caffeinated gels as samples. So do you play with those too? How do you use them for your race?
Yeah, so for me, I found, and this is very individual, I've chatted a lot with my teammates too, but I found I save the caffeine for the later half of the race. And once I go caffeine, I stay caffeine. Because if your body has that extra little jolt of energy, going back to non-caffeine isn't going to have the same push. So to me, I'll start with non-caffeine, and then I'll use that as the spicy thing at the very end. But give yourself time to make sure it can set in and everything. And it is a really nice stimulus, and you feel like an extra little jolt. And yeah, I've talked with my teammates too, and they like incorporating caffeine at the end. It's like an extra little boost. Some days, if I'm just going for a regular run, for runs that I don't even need to take a gel, I'll do it to practice. So I've done a lot of the caffeine just in a regular run, and it is great. It's awesome. Or if you just made a little pick-me-up before. But for racing, I save the caffeine towards the end. But that's definitely something you should be practicing and incorporating in your training, and practice taking the gels on your recovery runs, on every run, just so your body knows what to do with it.
Or you can try them on Monday. Don't try anything new.
Do you feel like your needs for electrolytes are higher training in altitude?
Absolutely. Yeah. I find that I need a lot more electrolytes on a daily basis. When I was training in Virginia at sea level, I felt like I didn't need as many electrolytes. And now I need at least one packet of the hydrate every day. So yeah, I do a lot of electrolytes, and especially if it's going to be warm, you've got to make sure that, and actually today, tomorrow, and Sunday, you should be getting extra electrolytes.
Yes.
Extra electrolytes into your plan too, to make sure you're loading in. So the more you can do that, don't overload it and give yourself a headache or anything, but you want to make sure that you're incorporating them into your hydration right now.
Nice.
And then for post-race, I know you said you're going to do your protein, but what are you going to do on Monday? How are you going to celebrate it?
Oh man. What I crave after a race is the closest food to me. So whatever I can visually see, ironically, that's exactly what I want. So it's really I don't need a burger, but if the burger is the closest thing, I'll eat it. But I really love root beer floats. That is my favorite thing. Root beer with I like the cookie dough ice cream and the root beer float, which some may say is gross. I say it's great because the ice cream will kind of melt, and then you're left with the cookie dough at the bottom. So it's 3 desserts in one. You get the root beer, you get the ice cream, and then the cookie dough at the bottom. So try it.
Nice.
Before, that's fine too. But yeah, let me know how you like the root beer.
I mean, you have all the excuses in the world. You're going to burn a ton of calories on Monday, so.
Is there any other pre-race meal that you have the night prior or in the morning? I was with Des a few years ago, and she told me in the morning she ate white rice, and from that moment on, I ate white rice before every race. Is there something kind of interesting that you...
Yeah, it's funny because on the pro bus to the start line, there were so many people eating rice on the bus. People will bring their Tupperware with their own little utensils and be eating rice. So I love rice the day before. It's a really great carb and it's not that heavy. So I do a lot of rice and sweet potatoes. For me, I really like the Mediterranean cuisine, leading into a race, because I don't want to say it's bland because it's my favorite, but it's there's no extra spice. It's not too much, and I feel with the chicken and the rice and some vegetables, it works really well for me. So I try to get Mediterranean or Greek food and do chicken, rice, sweet potatoes, and I try to eat as much as possible. And then I try to get a second dinner a little later with some extra bread or whatever I can take in. But really, the 2 days before, all the carbs that you can get in, better.
Yeah. Definitely.
There's a Trader Joe's right next door.
Yeah. Serious.
You're welcome.
I think the biggest thing is, so you moved to Utah, you're training with Coach Eyestone. I mean, are you feeling like you're in PR shape heading into Monday?
No, I don't think I'm in PR shape, but I think I'm in really good shape for this course. And I think it's very different. So going into Chicago last year, that's a totally flat course, and I felt like I was in PR shape. I was training for a very flat course to run really fast. And this one, I feel like I'm really strong. I'm prepared for the hills. My Lifting game has been insane. I have lifted so much, and I'm so proud. I don't even know what it means, but I have reds on when I'm lifting. I don't know what that translates to, but I feel really powerful. But I've become really, really strong. And then my long runs we've all done on hilly runs, so I feel like I'm prepared for the uphill and the downhill. So I don't know if I'm in PR shape right now, but I do think I'm really fit for this course, which might be more important on Monday.
Sure.
We'll see. I hope so.
Was weight training something that you weren't doing previously, and iStone had you working on that?
So I was doing it, but I didn't have a dedicated strength coach, so I wasn't pushing the limits with strength training. Yeah. In Chicago last year, I got injured. I broke 2 bones during the race, and I had to drop out. I was out for about 3 months just cross-training, and that was terrible. Don't recommend that. But it really gave me a chance to catch up on weight training, because when you're running a lot of miles and then stressing your body with heavy weights, it kind of can be like counteractive. But not running allowed me to really get into it and develop a lot of strength in my quads. I think I was missing a lot of glute strength and everything, and I think that allowed me a really strong build going into Boston. So I'm hoping it was a blessing in disguise, but I guess we'll see on Monday.
Yeah.
So speaking about Monday, how do you approach this race? Because all of us are running it, and then there's people in front of us and behind us, and it really doesn't matter who's in front of you. For you, you're an elite runner, so there's going to be people that are going to start with you in a pack. How and when do you decide that you're going to go for it, that you're going to go with someone? Is there a strategy?
Yeah, so for me going into this race, I've put kind of a governor on myself that I will run with the pack, the top pack, unless they're going too fast, because I really don't want to blow up in this race. But I also, this course I think is one that you need to be a little conservative on. You need to be patient. And I was actually texting Joan Benoit Samuelson yesterday, and I was like, hey, you're the queen of marathoning, any tips on this course? And she said the race doesn't start until you're about 21 miles in. So my goal is to stay connected enough with the lead pack that I'm in the race, but hopefully try to relax, not be racing. If people are making moves, don't go with it. You want to be running your pace and your rhythm without putting in surges. Especially downhill, like not to overstride. It's really easy on downhill to overstride, and then your quads are going to be shot when it comes to the hills. So I'm going to try to be conservative as I can to keep myself in the race, and then after all the Newton hills to really get down to business, and then get into that like really aggressive. My college coach called me Killer Keira when I started going after it. So I'll get into the Killer Keira mode once I get past those hills or during.
So in order to do that, that the race starts at mile 20, you have to have had a lot of long runs. How many Sunday long runs did you have leading up to this, and how long were they?
Yeah, so for the past, as long as I've done this build, so since January, we've done a long run we do them Saturday, and then we get Sundays off, which is really nice. I also recommend that. That is really, really nice. So I think I've probably done 8 runs that were maybe even 12 runs or 18 or over. And then I did a handful that were 22, 23. I think I got up to 24 this year. So
that's amazing.
Yeah.
And your weekly mileage besides that, how many miles do you cap out at?
So this build, we were a little more conservative than Chicago. So I think a lot of it was in the 80 mile to high 90s range with a day off. So that was on 6 days a week. So so by the end I got to the high 90s, and then I was so glad to come back down to the taper. This is the fun part, right? We got 3 miles tomorrow. This is going to be great. I can do that.
So with that, is that double runs on days, or do you just do it all in the morning?
Yeah, I try. The one, when I got up into the 90s, I had to double up, I think 3 or 4 times. But I'll do, on Tuesdays and Thursdays we have a workout. We do one that's a little quicker and one that's a little bit more tempo. And then sometimes on those days I try to add to make the hard days really hard. So I would do, a long workout in the morning and then add 4 to 6 miles at night. But just get it done.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah, what is it like to train with Connor and Clayton? It must be amazing.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
They are incredible people. Like outside of running, they're just really, really incredible humans. They're very kind, they're very humble, they keep their head down and they work really, really hard. So seeing them in workouts, they're really inspiring, especially Connor's form, just like he looks like he's just shot out of a rocket.
Yes.
And seeing that go by you in workouts, like it makes me feel like I'm standing still a little bit, but it's also inspiring. But it's really cool to learn from them. And I feel like I'm way older than them and I've been around a little bit longer. So it's nice to see their take and how they structure things and how they just look at marathoning. I feel like I've learned a lot from them. And actually, I'm going to brag for a second. So at the press conference today, Connor and I were at a table and someone was interviewing Connor saying, "Who is your favorite training partner?" And he said, "Me."
You won!
It's funny too because they are so nice, and then you go into a race and they turn into these like aggressive beasts, and I say that like totally lovingly, but I'm always asking them like, where's the on switch for that? Like you guys are so like, you know, just kind and sweet people. Like where do you hide beast mode when you're not using it? But no, it's been really great.
Does Connor know? I mean, does Clayton know that Connor said that? Because
I know.
I think this isn't like in a show.
Right.
It was recorded when he said it, and then I was like, did I hear that right? But
We're gonna start something here.
But I think also like I approach things very differently than I think. So I think I bring a unique spice to the team that like, you know, come sharing jokes and talking about whatever. So I think I just, you know, I'm a little different than them. So probably catch them off guard with stuff.
That's awesome.
Yes, and you're so nice. I mean, your aura is amazing. Do you have that beast mode that just comes out when the gun goes off?
Yeah, that's the killer Keira. That's the ultra.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I'll be at home and I'll see something or something will pop up about me and my immediate reaction is not to relate to that person. So I definitely feel like there is like a different Keira that shows up in races, or I can see a picture of me racing. I'm like, whoa, that's intense. Like,
Yeah.
So I don't know. You remember how like Mario had Wario? I think Keira has like a Weira or something.
That is
I
great.
think we should all find that like W version of whatever. Unless there's a Will in here. Will and Will I guess doesn't work. But yeah, that should be our goal on Monday, to everyone find the W version of yourself.
I think it's a great T-shirt. You know, Clayton has his YouTube channel, and it's amazing. And sometimes I see you in there. We need to work on that channel for you to show your daily, stuff.
I'm okay being a cameo. Yeah.
Do you feel like you're feeling the results from altitude training in Utah? I'm sure if you do, you must be really excited to open it up a little bit on Monday and see what you're made of.
Yeah, the first 6 months I was there, I felt like I was fighting altitude and the altitude was winning. So I felt like every workout I'd come back and be like, I've never breathed that hard in my life. And actually, when I first flew out and joined the team, the next day they're like, yeah, come on to practice. And I thought it was going to be like, hey, like meet the team and see our routine. And they're like, okay, 5 mile tempo. And I was like, okay, I've never even run at altitude before. I just flew in last night. And like every mile got progressively worse. And I finished being like, I swear that's not like how fit I am. But it's been really fun to work against different stimulus. And I think in running, you know, we practice in our long runs and our workouts. When you get to that pain cave, what do you do? And how do you work through that? And I think it's the practice that allows us to find how to work through it on race day. So I think struggling with a whole different thing hopefully is really going to help. And I feel like last year, the build, I was fighting against it, and I feel like this time I'm working with it. So I finally feel like I've gotten like the altitude lungs a little bit more. I'm feeling the benefits a little bit more, and coming down and running like on, you know, the Charles River today, like I'm like, there's so much air here. I really like it here. So we'll see. Yeah, we'll see on Monday.
Amazing.
Yeah, we're all excited to follow you along, and we're going to cheer for you. And with that, maybe we want to open it up for some audience questions. Who has a question for her? Okay.
A real specific question about your fueling race bikes. You ever flip the 40 mile like that with on a long hill? Because a lot of times there's a move being made. You know.
Yeah, it's funny. There's been one race that someone made a move on me through a water stop. and I stop at pretty much, I don't stop, but I get water most every water stop. Because I've done all the calculations. I'm like, that's a lot of fluid to get in. So I tried to like really front load it. So in one race, someone made a move on me through a water stop, and then I couldn't catch back up. So now like I watch for that. But it's not exact for me. And I feel like I let my body, so I say every 10K, but sometimes I'm feeling around like, 5.5, I see a water stop coming up, and I'll take it real quick so then I can get some water too. So it's not exact, but I listen to my body a lot. And actually another really good indicator when I know I need to fuel is when I start thinking negatively. So when I start, I'm frustrated or I start feeling sorry for myself, like I realize I'm hangry and I need to get something in. So that's a really good indicator too. So and getting something in can change your whole outlook. And all of a sudden you're like, whoa, I can do this. This is great. So yeah, I think knowing your body and kind of knowing those signs. And I think that, yeah, try that if you're feeling hangry during the race or you start feeling sorry for yourself, get some fuel in and you'll find like a whole new energy. Like, wow, what was I even talking about? This is great. And then 10K later you need it again, but yeah, no problem.
Any other questions?
Yeah, we're Australians up the back. We were super impressed by your half marathon American record back in 2023. What do you like about running in Australia, specifically Gold Coast? Who are you training with in terms of Australians? And are we going to see you back at Sydney Marathon?
Okay, I would love to come back.
Yeah.
I had so much fun. And I had planned that trip to be like almost a week, but my flight out there kept getting canceled, so I didn't get in until like just over 24 hours before the race. So I felt like a lot of my sightseeing was like really cut short, so I do need to come back. I ran with Benny St. Lawrence. He was my pacer for that. He was incredible. He was so solid and so on. Yeah, I definitely want to come back. But I did do a run through the park right there, and I saw a whole bunch of kangaroos. And they're like, in Australia, you see kangaroos like we would see deers or squirrels here. They're everywhere. They're very, very cute. And I saw like the really short ones, so I wasn't very scared of them. But I would love to come back, and I would love to do Sydney at some point too. So you guys are in here for Boston.
Yeah.
When did you fly in?
Tuesday, 28 hours from home.
Okay.
I'm still
Okay.
dealing with the jet lag.
Yeah, it probably feels like it's in the middle of the night.
I'm falling asleep.
Okay, I'll try not to take it up personally. Well, thanks for coming. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, appreciate it.
So do I still have the Australian all-comer record? Like my American record has now gotten broken.
Yeah, you're testing me here.
I thought you would know.
Yeah.
I'll have to check that. But when I ran that in Australia, I set the American record or the North American record, but then I also set like the continent record. And so when I lost the American record to Wendy Colati, who's incredible, she did great. That, I was a little bummed about, but I was like, well, I think I still have the continent record. Also. Okay, thank you. Yes. I will definitely come back to Australia. Thank you.
Anyone else?
How did you recognize you needed more electrolytes at altitude? Was it through sweat testing, how you felt, performance?
Yeah, it was everything. I think just feeling dehydrated overall, like your throat's dry, your skin's dry, like you can just feel, you're just thirsty. And when everyone's heard this, when you're thirsty, you're already a little bit dehydrated. So it was through that, but then just knowing like if you just drink total water, you're just gonna just flush everything out and dehydrate. So I know to like, I don't know, I had a race where I blew up because I just drank so much water, and I learned that way that I need it. But yeah, you feel it at altitude. Also, just getting headaches for me is a good sign that I am dehydrated. And when I'm like real busy, I forget to drink water, so then I get a headache, and I'm like, well, okay, thanks, body, for reminding me that I need to catch up on that. But I have a question for you all, real quick. What color is this? The jacket for this year?
Yeah.
Oh, that's really cute. Okay, I was wondering because I like see different jackets. I like it. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, there you go.
Do they give the pros the jacket?
No, they don't. They gave us like a Terragun, one of those massage things, which is awesome.
Oh, okay.
And the jacket's really cool. I can't wear Adidas right now. It's a Boston jacket. Sorry, I interrupted you.
You mentioned earlier that you had some tips. Do you have any other things that you do when you get into like a struggle moment or you're feeling a little like doubtful? Or...
Yes. So for me, this is evolved. So when I first started running, it was like like a positive quote. It was, pain is temporary, pride is forever. So I repeat that to myself. And then it started translating to like positive self-talk. Like, you got this, Keira, like just do your best. And then I realized I was giving myself a way out with saying do your best, because then I could be like, well, my best is slowing down. Like, my best is like walking through this water stuff. Like, my best is, you know. So now I use it as an opportunity, and I say this is where the magic happens. So like how I work through this point in the race is going to turn a good race into a great race, or a great race into an Australian record. So, but not feeling sorry for yourself. And I think also reminding yourself that this does matter to you, because I think it's so easy to dismiss your own goal when everything starts hurting. So saying like, yes, this is important, and I'm not going to give up on myself. And I think maybe telling someone before the race what your goal is, to know that someone else knows what your goal is, whether, you know, they don't really care. You know, we're the only ones that care about our own goal, right? But having someone else is like, well, I told them that I was going to do this. So that just, it kind of helps hold you accountable. But I think just going into it knowing like, I'm going to do my best, I'm going to work through that point, and yes, this does matter to me, and this goal is important to me. And then try not to back down and give up on yourself in that goal in that moment. Because then you finish and you're like, oh, I wish, maybe I could have, you know, so just knowing like, I'm going to work through it until, you know, until you end up in the hypothermia tent. That doesn't happen to you, it happened to me. But.
You referenced that you were really late to the game in terms of starting as a pro athlete. And most of us, or as we get older, we deal with sort of these challenges of can we be as great as we always were, or how do we get better despite the fact that maybe we're struggling with, you know, normal aging processes. So how do you tackle that, and what is your experience in the industry in general and being somebody who was late to the game?
Yeah, so a couple things. I firmly believe the best is yet to come. So I think just that sense of optimism has really helped me, that like, I know my best is yet to come. So I think just that belief, and maybe it's like blind optimism, I don't know. But then I think I'm someone who likes to stick it to the man a little bit, and I feel like I've always lived that way. And so when I first started coming into it, and I like, so many people like, you would ask, you know, everyone's supposed to slow down, like you're a mom, blah, 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 blah. And for me, it was an opportunity to prove everyone wrong. And I think enough people like me have started proving everyone wrong, and it's going to become more normal that we do run competitively, or, you know, for our best ever as we age. But I think we need to be smart about it too. I need more rest days. I need to make sure I'm sleeping. I need to make sure I'm eating enough. I really need to take care of my body more than I did in my 20s. Like I could go out dancing all night and show up for like a 6 a.m. run and be fine. Can't do that anymore. But maybe I should try. But, so I think, yeah, and I think show yourself grace too. But I think also marathoning is accumulation of a lot of builds. So the patience to build slowly and to keep, you know, after build, and you'll start seeing that, and it's not always linear, but you got this. What I'm trying to say is you got this. That's what I should just say. You got this, yeah.
So I think we have time for 2 more questions.
So you said it's good to share your goals. We're not going to ask for a number, but on Monday, what is the Strava headline going to say?
Okay.
And it can't be morning long run.
It'll probably be Boston Marathon. That'll be the title. Yeah, on race days I don't really do jokes, but if anyone has a Boston joke, I told a really good Boston joke last week, and then I kind of like, you know, blew it before I actually got here. But I don't have a time goal, but I really want to make sure that I'm competitive. And I've had, like 2024 was a really rough year for me, like personally and athletically. So I think just having a really strong race, like, I mean, I'm going to show up to the starting line. And definitely, I cry on every single marathon starting line, the fact that I'm there. Like, making it through a marathon build is a win within itself. And then I think just really pushing hard and being really competitive. And, and I'd like to, do some damage place-wise.
Yeah. I love it.
All right, we got one more.
Thank you so much for being with us, Keira. I want to ask you about pacing, because I feel like for anyone who's run a marathon, you hear about negative splitting the race, and it always feels a little elusive. So you want to start off hard and maybe set the pace, but especially in a course like this with the downhill in the beginning and the hills at the end, is there a pacing, or I guess in general, not necessarily in Boston, do you have a go-to pacing plan, or do you kind of listen to your body and adjust as you go and depending on the course?
Yeah.
Like, is there a planned negative split?
That's a really good question. Sometimes in builds, I'll narrow it down. So if I'm going for a goal time, then I will try to be pretty set and going pretty even. But I feel like on a course like Boston, you have two options. One, be conservative and make sure you're going out, help you try to hold back a little bit, like all of the energy around, all the people you're running with is going to pull you out, and starting the first 10K downhill is going to pull you out. So try to be conservative, make it through the hills and then really work your way down. That would probably be a really fun way to run. Or you just full send it, man. Right? Like, high five people and live it up. And I don't know, I feel like it is a rite of passage to just blow off in a minute. It's hard and it's terrible. And yeah, one marathon, I was like, I think I'm at like 23 miles already. And I looked down, I was not even at 13. That was a really bad one. But I finished 4th in Chicago, so that wasn't
Yeah, not bad.
okay. But I don't know. So I think I'm going to err on conservative in this Boston on Monday, but also go full send it and I'll root for you, man.
That's awesome. We want to thank you so much for coming and letting us ask all our questions. And since we don't have a lot of time, we're going to take a selfie now.
Okay.
So we're going to.
I heard, like, just being here, UCAN is handing out PRs to everyone.
Yes.
No refunds, no changes. Thank you all for coming and sending us.
One selfie here, I guess, right?
How do we do this best?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I gotta do it with my own phone, too. Okay, is everyone smiling? All right, points for money here.
I'll give you some.
Oh, yeah, this way? Okay, that's right. I'm like the worst selfie. Okay, I'm gonna do it with my character. You guys okay? Being on my
Tag us all.
Send me your name, okay? Go. Everyone smile. Perfect time.
Ah, amazing.
Can we grab a quick picture?
Yeah,
of
the
you?
three of us. Yes.
Oh, Keira.